In a single day, terrorist attacks in France, Tunisia and Kuwait have left a horrific scar across 3 continents. The White House has published a statement in response to the attacks, adding that, quote, "The United States condemns in the strongest terms the terrorist attacks in France, Kuwait and Tunisia today. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of those heinous attacks, their loved ones and the people of all 3 countries." As the president has discussed with his French, Kuwaiti and Tunisian counterparts in recent weeks, we are resolute and united in our shared effort to fight the scourge of terrorism. The attacks once again highlight a debate over where the roots of radicalization lie and raise questions and concerns over the spread of violent religious extremism. To help us gain a little more insight into these senseless attacks and what implications they might have, I was joined earlier by Middle East analyst Dr. Nazir Al-Amari and Ibrahim Hooper of the Council on American Islamic Relations. I first asked Dr. Nazir Al-Amari if he thought this was a coordinated effort by ISIS in all 3 countries.
I don't believe so. I believe these groups operate independently. They are loosely united by a deadly ideology, unfortunately, an ideology that is driven by the distrust, fear, all kinds of grievances. So I don't believe that this has been a coordinated attack, although they, as I said, the ideology is uniting more and more of these terrorists.
Right. Now, I want to move on to Ibrahim. So we're hearing, there is no direct evidence that these are coordinated attacks, but it is worth noting that each one of these countries does have very close ties to the United States. In fact, that factory that was targeted in France was a U.S.-run factory. These attacks happened within 3 hours of each other. Is this just coincidence?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to say that we join with the American Muslim community joins with the world community in condemning these things. These are horrific, cowardly, appalling. There's absolutely no justification for them based on any ideology, however extreme or monstrous. Whether they're coordinated, I think it's too soon to tell, but it is very coincidental that they would all occur at the same time, one claimed by ISIS and the others in the style of ISIS, and after a call by ISIS for these so-called lone wolves or whatever to take it upon themselves to do these kinds of acts during Ramadan. So I could see a case being made that there is some even loose coordination on this kind of thing, but it's hard to understand what the reasoning is behind these kinds of things, because as the world sees these kinds of terrorist acts, it repudiates any kind of ideology that would be behind them, and whatever twisted viewpoint, the world's going to reject it. So, what's the point of these kinds of things?
Yeah, and you bring up the added element that we're halfway through Ramadan, which I do want to ask you about. But Dr. Al-Amari, I wanted to talk about Kuwait in particular, because that is where one of the attacks took place, where ISIS did take responsibility for attack. We don't usually associate Kuwait with war on terror. We don't associate Kuwait with these sorts of terror attacks. Do you see this as an instance where do you see this as a sign that ISIS is in fact succeeding in spreading violence outside of Iraq and Syria, where the majority of the fighting has been taking place?
I think that ISIS has made it clear that they are going to target Shiites in Saudi Arabia. They made it clear that their mission is to spread terrorism across the region and the world. So, as you said, Kuwait is a stable country. It doesn't have a history of terrorism. But this definitely has come as an awakening to the Kuwaiti government, which did not expect this to come to Kuwait City. So I believe that ISIS right now is operating on the assumption that if you target Shiites, you will have some kind of support in the Middle East, given the situation in Syria and Iraq. So I believe that they're playing on the public sentiment to drum up support for their deadly cause.
Yeah, Dr. Al-Amari, just to follow up, because this conversation does get very, very complicated when we start talking about who's targeting who. In the instance of Kuwait, there are those in the intelligence community that believe that this was that the motivation here was to incite violence between Shias and Sunnis. Who is targeting who at this point when we're looking at these attacks?
Well, I believe ISIS is playing the the anti-Shiism card. They want more Sunnis to join their fight. They are using this, they are using what's happening in Syria. The Assad regime has been killing people, so in retaliation, they are saying this is a Shia versus Sunni fight. And unfortunately, it has worked because they are recruiting more people, and they're recruiting people in the West. So whatever they have been doing, it's working because their ranks have been filling and their numbers have been increasing. So I believe that they have played this, especially in a place like Saudi Arabia or Kuwait, where there is a level of sympathy with that anti-Shiism sentiment that they are playing.
Yeah, and Ibrahim, I wanted to move back to something that you had said earlier, making mention that we're halfway basically through the holy month of Ramadan. You would think that things would be a little bit more peaceful. At the very least, we'd see a reduction in fighting. Why is that not the case?
Well, obviously, ISIS doesn't follow Islamic principles. We can see that every time they massacre civilians or torture people or execute people. Their stock and trade is fear and hatred. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us not to succumb to this fear and hatred. They're trying to sow sectarian discord in Kuwait and other places. Don't allow it to happen. That's the response to ISIS.
Right, and we're almost out of time, but I did want to get each one of you to comment on this. Anytime that we're having this conversation, there's always the debate over the roots of radicalization. There's blame on the United States over the invasion of Iraq, leading to the creation of ISIS. There's blame on the Assad regime in Syria. There's blame on the Saudi government. But what should the appropriate response be at this point to ISIS continuing to spread through the region? Dr. Al-Amari.
I believe that local governments have to coordinate more closely to defeat ISIS in Iraq. We haven't seen any of that, or a serious attempt to curtail the ISIS activity. I believe that the United States should coordinate more closely with these governments, which may find themselves weak in the face of this wave of terrorism. So I believe there's a lot of work to be done in terms of helping refugees, not making sure that these refugee camps don't turn into places where people are radicalized. So there's a lot of funding needed, and there's a lot of coordination needed to defeat ISIS.
Ibrahim, any response?
Yeah, the continuation of the brutal Assad regime in Syria fuels ISIS, and the continuation of sectarianism in Iraq fuels ISIS. So you have to deal with those two issues.
I want to thank both of you for joining us. That was Middle East analyst Dr. Nazir Al-Amari and Ibrahim Hooper of the Council on American Islamic Relations here in Washington. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.